The microphone screamed before anyone did. That high, ugly feedback ripped through the humid air of the community center and went straight through my skull. It smelled like stale coffee, old carpet, and nervous sweat. Small-town politics in one tight, overheated room. I was leaning against the back wall with my arms crossed, trying to look like I didn't care. Technically, I didn't have to. I was the structural engineer on contract with the big development firm that wanted to tear down the old pier and build something new. My job was numbers, not feelings. Then I saw her. She was standing at the podium under those flickering fluorescent lights, stuck between three gray-suited men who looked like they'd trade their souls for cheaper country club dues. Deep red blouse, dark hair pulled back, posture straight like she'd nailed herself to the floor rather than back down. Vera Taylor. Her hands were flat on the lectern, pressing down so hard her knuckles were white. Her jaw was tight, but her eyes were clear, sharp, and angry. "Mrs. Taylor," Colson Turner said into his microphone. He was in the middle of the panel, king of the golf shirt mafia. His voice had that fake sweet tone that made you want to hit something. "We appreciate your sentimental attachment to the historical pier, but sentiment doesn't pay for structural retrofitting. Your proposal is cute, but it's insolvent." The room murmured, a little wave of laughter and embarrassment. It rolled straight over her, like they'd just watched a child get corrected. Something hot twisted in my chest. Vera didn't look away. She adjusted the microphone with a small, precise touch and spoke into it like she owned it. "It's not sentimental, Mr. Turner. It's sustainable," she said. "And unlike your plan, mine doesn't require evicting 3 local businesses to widen an access road that doesn't need widening." "The numbers don't lie, sweetheart," Colson said. He actually called her sweetheart. Into a live mic. That was it. Whatever thin line I'd drawn between my contract and my conscience snapped. I pushed off the back wall. My shoes clicked loud on the scratched linoleum as I walked right down the center aisle. I didn't raise my hand. I didn't wait my turn. I just let my voice carry the same way I did on job sites over jackhammers and pile drivers. "Actually, Colson," I said, "your numbers are garbage." The whole room went silent. I walked straight to the front, rolled drawings still under my arm. "I checked your load-bearing calcs on that access road," I went on. "You're over-engineering the foundation by 40%. That's not safety. That's budget padding. Rookie math." Vera turned and stared at me like I was a live grenade that had just rolled under the podium. Her dark eyes were wide, somewhere between shocked and furious. Colson didn't lose his smile, but his eyes changed. They went flat and hard, like a door closing. "Excuse me," he said. "And you are?" "Santiago Gray," I said. "Independent contractor, structural engineer. Your firm hired me to review the proposal." I lifted the drawings. I did. Low whispers rippled through the crowd. The council moderator jumped in, trying to calm the room. People started talking over each other. It turned into noise fast. 10 minutes later, the meeting was adjourned, not because anything was solved, but because nobody could hear themselves think. I walked out first, needing air. The sky outside was turning purple, the ocean breeze finally cutting through the heat. I leaned against my silver coupe, rolled my shoulders back, and waited. The doors slammed open behind me. Vera strode out, heels sharp on the asphalt. She spotted me and came straight over. No smile, no thanks, just laser focus. "Santiago Gray," she said. Her voice was lower now, rough at the edges. "You work for the competition. Why did you just tank your own partner's argument?" "I'm an independent contractor," I said, giving her the half-smirk that usually smoothed things over. "And I have a low tolerance for bad math. Colson is a hack." "Colson is powerful," she corrected. She stopped 3 feet away, close enough that I could smell her perfume, sandalwood and jasmine. "And now he's going to come for both of us." "Let him try," I said. "I'm the best engineer on this coast. I don't need his approval." Quote, "You're arrogant," she said simply, not as an insult, as a fact. "You think talent protects you, doesn't it?" Quote, "No." Her voice softened, but it didn't get weaker. "Politics protects you. And you just made a political enemy." She rubbed at her temple with 2 fingers. For a second, She looked tired. Human, not just the woman in the red blouse fighting a room full of suits. "Coulson has filed 3 complaints against my firm this week," she said. "He's trying to bury me in paperwork so I missed the bid deadline. He doesn't fight with math, Santiago. He fights with mud." A car door slammed behind us. Coulson walked out with 2 guys in matching polos. He moved like he owned the whole parking lot. He didn't raise his voice when he spoke. Men like him never needed to. "Vera," he called, smiling that shiny, empty smile, always passionate, always unwise. His eyes slid to me. "And you must be the contractor with the ego problem." "I'm the contractor with the calculator," I said easily. "Your budget padding is sloppy." His smile thinned. "You're new to this town," he said. "Let me give you some advice. Don't insert yourself into local business. People here don't like outsiders. You're going to make yourself lonely." I stepped half a pace forward, not enough to make it a scene, just enough to put my shoulder slightly in front of Vera's. "Threats aren't engineering," I said. "If you have an issue, put your name on a formal complaint." For a second, his eyes flashed. And there it was, the first real crack. "Oh, I will," he said. "You can count on it." He turned and walked away, his men following him like shadows. Vera watched him go, then looked at me. "You just painted a target on your back," she said quietly. "Yeah," I said, "but he was aiming at you first." 2 days later, the city council decided to fix the mess I'd started. Because of the concerns raised at the town hall, my word versus Coulson's spin, they ordered a joint site inspection of the pier. Neutral arbitrator, city rep, both proposals reviewed on site. Fog clung to the water that morning, thick and cold. The pier stretched out into gray nothing, old timbers groaning under every step. Waves slammed against the pilings with a steady, angry rhythm. Vera was already there when I arrived. Hard hat, safety vest over a blazer, clipboard in hand. Professional armor back in place. She didn't say good morning. She pointed at a dark beam under the deck, where the wood was swollen and dark. "It's historical ironwood," she told the arbitrator. "It can be reinforced. It doesn't need to be replaced." "It's rot," I said, stepping onto the boards. "And rot doesn't care about history." I kicked the beam. A chunk of wet wood broke off and fell straight into the water. "See?" I said. "Structural failure waiting to happen." She spun on me, eyes blazing. "You kick everything you don't understand, don't you?" she snapped. "You think because it's old, it's useless. I think because it's rotten, it's dangerous." I shot back, stepping closer. "I care about physics." "Gravity doesn't care about your nostalgia." "It's not nostalgia," she hissed. "It's identity. This town is—" A sharp crack cut through the fog. The board under the arbitrator's foot split clean in half. His leg dropped through the gap up to his knee. His body lurched forward toward the empty air beyond the railing. I moved without thinking. I grabbed the back of his safety vest and yanked him upright in one hard pull, shoving him toward Vera and the more solid boards. The rotten plank sagged under my boot. I shifted my weight, spreading it, keeping the load balanced until I was sure it wouldn't give completely. "Back," I ordered, my voice turning hard. "Now." The arbitrator stumbled away, breathing like he'd just seen his obituary. Vera stared at the broken plank, then at me. She swallowed. "You just proved your point," she said quietly. Fog curled around us. The ocean roared below. My pulse hammered in my throat. Hers, too. I could see it in the small jump in her neck. "You are the most impossible, arrogant, infuriating man I have ever—" She didn't finish the sentence. She grabbed my jacket, pulled me down, and kissed me. It wasn't soft. It wasn't careful. It was a hard, desperate collision of adrenaline and frustration, and something that had been building since the first time she stepped up to that mic in red. For a second, I froze. Then my hands found her waist, steadying her. Her fingers tightened on my lapels. She didn't pull away. She leaned in once more like she was staking a claim. 3 seconds. Maybe 4. Then she broke. She shoved me back, eyes wide. She stammered, hand flying to her mouth. I just wanted to stop this fight." "You stopped it," I said, my voice rough and a little breathless. She turned on her heel and walked into the fog like she could outrun whatever she'd just started. And I stood there on the broken pier, tasting salt in her, knowing one thing very clearly: I was in trouble. The next morning I walked into her office and pretended my heart hadn't spent half the night replaying that kiss on a loop. Her firm was in a narrow brick storefront downtown, a big window with Taylor waterfront design painted in blue across the glass. Inside, it smelled like printer ink, coffee, and sawdust from the little wooden pier models lining the shelves. The bell over the door jingled when I stepped in. Vera was at her desk, phone pressed to her ear, eyes glued to her computer screen. She looked like she'd gotten maybe 2 hours of sleep. Her blazer was on the back of her chair, sleeves rolled up, red blouse from last night swapped for a softer blue one. She saw me, froze, and then hung up without saying goodbye. "If you're here to talk about yesterday," she said, "don't." She didn't sound angry, she sounded brittle. "It was a mistake," she went on. "Adrenaline, low blood sugar. Whatever, we can forget it." "I'm not here about yesterday," I said, dropping a folder onto her desk. "I'm here about this." She glanced down at the folder but didn't touch it. "What did you do?" she asked slowly. "Coulson flagged your firm," I said. "Financial concerns. The city just locked you out of the permit database." Her fingers moved then. She opened the folder. Inside were the screenshots my buddy in planning had sent me. Red warning bars. Her company name under risk review. A note about temporary restriction of access pending investigation. All because Coulson clicked a box. Vera read in silence. The color in her face drained out little by little. "If I can't file final documents, I can't submit my bid," she said. Her voice was flat. "If I miss the deadline, I lose. He wins by default." "Yeah," I said. She sat back and stared at the ceiling for a second, like she might actually scream. Then she laughed once, but it was a cracked sound. "I'm done," she whispered. "I can't fight City Hall and a conglomerate at the same time. I don't have the money to sue. I don't have the time to appeal." I pulled out the chair across from her and sat down. "You can't," I said, "but we can." She gave me a look, sharp and confused. "We," she repeated. "I quit this morning," I said. Her head snapped up. "You what?" "I quit," I said again. "Told them their project was boring and their coffee was worse. I'm no longer on Coulson's leash, which means I can sign onto yours." "That's insane," she said. "That's a multi-million-dollar commission." "I like this one more," I said with a shrug. "Your plan is harder, more interesting," and he pissed me off. She stared at me like I'd just told her I stepped in front of buses for fun. "Santiago, you can't just switch sides in the middle of a war," she said. "He'll call it unethical. They'll take us both to the board." "I didn't sign their non-compete," I said. "Page 10, clause 14. I struck it out the first day. I'm an independent consultant, not their pet. They can complain, but they can't touch me in court. And if I sign on as lead engineer on your proposal, the city can't block your permit access. They need a licensed engineer on record. That's me." She put her elbows on the desk and pressed her fingers to her temples. "Why?" she asked quietly. "Why would you do this?" Quote, "Because I can't stand watching you get crushed by someone who cheats," I thought. "Because you kissed me on a rotting pier and then walked away like it meant nothing, and I still can't stop thinking about you." Out loud, I kept it simple. "Because your design is the better one," I said, "and because I don't like bullies with clipboards." A long beat passed. "Strictly professional," she said finally. "If we do this, no more incidents, no more pier moments." Strictly professional, I agreed. We both knew we were lying, but we didn't say it. The next 2 weeks turned her office into a war room. We pushed desks together. I set up my laptop and a second monitor. She dragged out old rolled plans and historical maps. We layered everything, old and new, her vision and my math. By day, we dealt with the city. My license got her permit access restored. I rewrote structural reports, double-checked bracing requirements, and reran load paths until my eyes ached. She handled zoning codes, community impact forms, and the politics I hated. By night, it was just us, takeout boxes, and the sound of the ocean through the thin windows. On one late Tuesday, rain hammered the glass so hard it sounded like gravel. Everyone else on the block had gone home hours ago. Our lights were the only ones left. Vera was bent over a drafting table, shoulders hunched, reading code sections until the numbers blurred. She rubbed at the back of her neck, wincing. "You're doing it again," I said. "Doing what?" she asked without looking up. "Carrying the town on your spine," I said. "Move." She gave me a look but scooted the rolling chair forward a few inches. I stood behind her and set my hands on her shoulders over the thin fabric of her blouse. She stiffened for half a second. Then I pressed my thumbs into the tight muscles along her neck, slow and careful. Her breath changed. "You're too good at this," she muttered, head dipping a little. "I understand structural stress," I said. "People are just flexible buildings." "You're so arrogant," she said, but there was no heat in it. I let my hands stay there for a moment longer, then stepped away before I pushed the line we'd drawn. "Did you eat?" I asked. She blinked like she was coming back from far away. "I forgot," she admitted. "I ordered Thai," I said. "Pad see ew, no spice, extra lime. That's your thing, right?" Quote. She turned in the chair and looked at me, surprised. "You remembered," she said. "I pay attention to details," I said. "That's why I'm expensive." She smiled, a real, soft smile that hit me harder than any storm. 2 days later, we crawled under the pier. Most people only saw the top deck. The wide boards. The railings. The view. The underside was the real story. Dark beams slick with salt, bolts eaten by rust, cross-bracing that had done its job for 50 years and was tired of it. I clipped into a harness, dropped through a maintenance hatch, and turned on my headlamp. The air under there was cold and wet. Waves smacked the pilings, sending sprays up to my boots. "Do you have to do this yourself?" Vera called down. I could see her boots through the slats. "Yeah," I said. "If someone gets hurt down here, it's on me." I moved along the lower beams, testing joints with a pry bar, marking every corroded bracket with orange paint. I took photos of cracks, held a tape to measure sag, recorded everything. Halfway down, my light caught something wrong. Fresh tool marks on a newer bolt head, shiny metal where there should have been a film of rust, a washer that looked too clean. Someone had been here. Recently. My neck went tight. "Vera," I said into the radio, clipped to my vest. "Where's the council arbitrator today?" "They canceled," she answered. "It's just us." "Then we're not alone," I said. I killed my light and listened. Above me a board creaked. Heavy, not wind. A slow step, then another. I moved 3 beams over and pulled myself up toward a second hatch, staying in shadow. The hatch I'd used scraped open. "Hello?" a man's voice called down. Not Vera. Not the arbitrator, bright and fake. "Council sent maintenance to check the substructure." Vera's footsteps shifted on the deck. "Council didn't mention any maintenance," she called. "Who are you?" "Lady, relax," he said. "I'm just here to help." My jaw clenched. I pushed up through the second access panel, 10 feet away, and came out onto the deck behind him. He was in work boots and a faded city hoodie, holding a tool bag. He looked normal, the way danger likes to. I grabbed his wrist before he could turn toward her and twisted just enough to lock the joint. He yelped. "Name," I said quietly. He tried to jerk free. I tightened my hold a little. Vera stood back, phone in hand, eyes wide but steady. "Eddie," he muttered. "Eddie Rusk." "Who sent you, Eddie?" I asked. Silence. I leaned closer. "You lie, I take you straight to Harbor Patrol. You tell the truth, you walk away." He swallowed, eyes flicking between me and Vera. "Turner," he finally muttered. "Colson Turner." Vera's face went pale. Her hand tightened around her phone. "He sent someone to mess with the structure," she whispered, "to scare us or to make it fail." Same result, I said. I shoved Eddie toward the stairs. Get off this pier, I said, and if I see you under it again, you're leaving in cuffs. He ran. Vera blew out a breath she'd been holding. Thank you, she said quietly. You don't stand in front of a moving truck alone, I said. She looked at me for a long moment, the wind tugging at her hair, the ocean roaring under our feet. Whatever we'd started with that kiss on the fogged pier, it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The email came on a Friday afternoon while the rain beat against the office windows like someone insisting on being let in. We were both there, tired and wired. I was finishing the final stress diagrams on the transfer beams. Vera was double-checking a zoning clause with her brow creased in that way that meant she'd memorized 3 code books and still didn't trust any of them. Her computer pinged. She clicked without thinking. I watched the color drain from her face in real time. "What is it?" I asked. She didn't answer. Her eyes were locked on the screen. Her hand came up, fingers covering her mouth. I rolled my chair over beside her. Subject line: ethics inquiry, conflict of interest. The attachment was a photo, grainy, zoomed in, but clear enough. It was us. On the pier, her fists in my jacket, my hands on her waist. Fog all around us. No broken plank, no terrified arbitrator behind us. No context. Just a kiss that looked like a secret deal. Coulson's name sat in the from line. My jaw clenched. I could feel my pulse in my teeth. "He sent this to the ethics board," she whispered. "Copied the counsel and the press liaison." Her voice was steady, but the paper in her hand trembled. "He's saying I hired you because I'm sleeping with you," she went on. "Not because you're the best engineer in the room. He's saying my structural report is biased." I swallowed a curse. "It's not true," I said. "We have the plank failure report. We have the arbitrator as a witness. We have—" "It doesn't matter," she snapped, then flinched like she'd hit herself with her own words. She shut her eyes for a second and took a breath. "It doesn't matter, Santiago. Not to the board. They don't care about nuance. They care about optics. A photo like that can kill me." She stood up and paced once behind the desk. Her heels clicked fast on the old wood floor. "If they rule that I have an undisclosed personal relationship with my lead engineer," she said, "they could invalidate our bid, suspend my license. Call it unprofessional conduct." She stopped and looked at me. Not cold, not angry, just desperate. "You have to go," she said. "Excuse me?" "You need to resign from this project. Right now. Withdraw as lead engineer. If you're not on paper, there's no conflict for him to point at." I stared at her. "So your plan is to let him win by scaring you into pushing me out," I said. "You stand alone again. You think that makes you safer?" "It gives me a chance," she said. "If it's just me, he can't say I traded favors for reports. I can say you were a lapse." The word hit like a slap. "A lapse," I repeated quietly. She winced. "I am not ashamed of you," she said quickly. "I'm scared." "He's bigger than me, Santiago. He has money and friends and time to burn me down. You still have a career outside this town. I don't want you caught in the blast." I looked at the photo again, at my own face, half turned toward her. At the way she was holding my jacket like I was the last railing on the ship. I could walk. I could step back into my world of clean, safe corporate jobs and leave her to fight alone. The idea made something tight twist in my chest so hard it was almost pain. "Fine," I said after a long moment. Her shoulders sagged, relief and hurt flickering across her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "But I'm not agreeing to his story," I added. "And I'm not letting you stand in front of this firing squad without a vest." I grabbed my jacket from the back of the chair. "I'll go," I said. "For tonight." Her eyes searched my face like she was trying to decode the part one wasn't saying. "Don't do anything stupid," she murmured. "Stupid's not my brand," I said. "Remember, I'm arrogant, not reckless." She almost smiled, but it died halfway. I left before either of us could say something we couldn't take back. My apartment that night felt wrong. It was clean and modern and high up, with glass walls and a view of the ocean. Usually that calmed me. Numbers, money, space. Proof I'd done well for myself. That night it felt like a glossy box with no air. I poured a drink, watched the ice melt, and never touched it. Instead, I opened my laptop. If Coulson wanted a war in front of an ethics board, I wasn't going to fight him with emotion. I was going to fight him with paper. I started with what I already knew. The timing of his complaint, the way it lined up with when we found Eddie under the pier, the fact that his own design overbuilt the access road by 40% for no good reason except to balloon the budget. I dug deeper. I pulled old permits from the state database, checked his firm's previous projects, found an environmental report on a similar waterfront job 3 towns over that looked a little too familiar. Same phrasing, same recommended contractor, same demand to tear down a structure that could have been reinforced. I called a friend in the city engineer's office. I owed him a favor. He sent me a suppressed report on our own project, a traffic study that had been buried when it showed his road design would destabilize the cliffside over time. I found the incident number from Harbor Patrol the night Eddie showed up under the pier, tied it to an invoice for emergency structural maintenance filed by one of Coulson's favorite contractors. Same date, same time. The picture was ugly but clear. He wasn't just playing dirty with us. He'd made a habit of bending safety reports around his profit margin. I printed everything. Screenshots, emails, reports, invoices. The plank failure incident I wrote up the day it happened, complete with the arbitrator's signature and the timestamp. By Sunday night, I had a binder thick enough to use as a weapon. On top of it, I placed one thin folder. Inside was a simple statement, mine. Written, signed, and notarized at 2 in the morning at a 24-hour shipping store. It said, yes, Vera kissed me on that pier. No. She did not offer me anything for favorable numbers. No, I did not alter my reports for personal reasons. Yes, there was a real, dangerous structural failure that triggered the moment you can see in that photo. Truth, ugly and plain. Monday came fast. The council hearing room was packed. The air was heavy and hot. People fanned themselves with printed flyers about Save Our Pier. Coulson sat at one table, relaxed, his suit sharper than ever. In front of him was the printed photo of us, blown up, ready to be used like a knife. Vera sat alone at the other table. She wore navy blue, hair pinned up, expression calm in the way a building looks right before a storm hits it. Her hands were clasped together on the tabletop. From where I stood at the back, I could see the slight tremor in her fingers. Before we hear final proposals, the council president said, we must address an ethics complaint regarding Miss Taylor and her former consulting engineer. Vera stood up. Her voice, when she spoke, was smooth but thin at the edges. Mr. Gray is no longer. The chamber doors banged open behind me. Every head turned. I stepped through with the binder in one hand and the thin folder in the other. Mr. Gray, I said, letting my voice carry, is present. Vera's eyes went wide. Her mouth parted. Santiago, she whispered, what are you doing? I walked down the aisle. I wasn't in my usual expensive suit. I'd left the armor at home. Just a white shirt, sleeves rolled, dark slacks, nothing flashy, nothing to hide behind. I set the binder down on the table beside her. The sound echoed in the room. I'm not resigning, I said quietly for her, and you're not standing here alone. Then I turned to face the council and Coulson and the whole sweating town. Time to stop the fight the right way. I did not sit down. I faced the council with the photo of us sitting on Coulson's pile of papers like bait. The photo is real, I said. So let's start there. You could feel the air in the room pull tight. Miss Taylor kissed me on the pier 3 weeks ago. I went on. Right after a plank failed under the feet of your neutral arbitrator and I pulled him back before he went into the water. I lifted the thin folder. This is his written statement, I said. Signed, dated, notarized. It confirms the failure and the time it happened. Same timestamp as the photo you all received. A low murmur moved through the crowd. Someone in the back said, I remember that day. Quote, I looked straight at the council president. Miss Taylor did not offer me money, favors, or anything else for a better report, I said. She did what human beings sometimes do after they almost watch someone die. She grabbed me and kissed me because she was scared and mad and full of adrenaline. Then she walked away. I filed my report based on the numbers, not her mouth. A few people laughed under their breath. The tension cracked just a little. Coulson was on his feet now. "This is completely improper," he barked. "He has a personal relationship with the petitioner. This whole joint bid is tainted." I turned toward him. "What is improper?" I said, lifting the binder. "Is everything in here?" I opened it to the first tab and laid a page on the table so the council could see. "These are the dates and times of every ethics complaint filed against Ms. Taylor's firm in the last 6 months," I said. "All anonymous, all vague. Every single one filed on the exact day Mr. Turner's own firm missed a filing deadline or had a city review go sideways." I flipped to the next tab. "These," I went on, "are internal emails from Mr. Turner to his project manager, collected under the state's public records laws from his work on a similar waterfront project up the coast." I pointed to a highlighted line on the page. Quote, I read, "If we cannot beat Taylor's numbers, slow her down in permitting, flag whatever you can, make her look unstable." Quote. The room got very quiet. The council president took the page, scanned it, and passed it down the line. One of the other members swore under his breath. Coulson's face had gone a slow, angry red. "You have no right to those emails," he spat. "They are public record from a project where public funds were used," I replied. "Your firm chose to use city channels for private strategy. That was your mistake, not mine." I flipped to the next tab. "This is a suppressed engineering report from Mr. Turner's own consultant," I said. "It states that his proposed access road would increase erosion and destabilize the bluff over the next 10 years. That report never reached this council." Gasps. More voices now. A fisherman in the second row shook his head and muttered, "Knew that road was bad." "Finally," I said, turning another page, "these are an invoice and a harbor patrol report." I held up the invoice first. "Emergency maintenance under the pier," I read, "submitted by a contractor who does regular work for Mr. Turner, dated the same morning a man named Eddie Rusk showed up under this structure saying he was sent by the council." I held up the harbor patrol sheet. "This," I said, "is the incident report number from the night we caught that same man under the pier, near tampered bolts." My voice stayed calm. No yelling, no rush. "I am not here to insult anyone," I said. "I am here to tell you something simple. Ms. Taylor did not cheat. She did not lie. She did not change a single number on my reports. What she did was stand up to a bigger firm with more money and say no. In response, Mr. Turner used complaints, false maintenance, visits, and a private photo to try to paint her as unstable. That is not ethics. That is bullying." The council president looked at Coulson. "Do you dispute the authenticity of these documents?" she asked. He opened his mouth, shut it again, then forced a smile that did not reach his eyes. "This is taken out of context," he said. "Standard practice, competitive strategy. The photo, however, speaks for itself." "So do the reports about your road," I said. "And the invoice you never told the harbor patrol about." He glared at me like he wished the floor would swallow me. The council president lifted her gavel but did not strike it. "We have heard enough on the ethics complaint," she said. "The board will take this under advisement. For now, Ms. Taylor, please proceed with your proposal." Vera had been silent the whole time. She stood now. I stepped half a pace back and a little to the side, giving her what and who I had fought for: the floor. Her hands shook once when she reached for the clicker. Then she set her shoulders, looked at the crowd, and began. "This pier is not just wood," she said. "It is our jobs, our mornings, our stories. But it is also old, and age without care becomes danger." Quote. Her voice settled into its natural rhythm, confident, steady. "Mr. Gray and I designed a system that respects both," she said, showing the first slide. "New steel braces hidden inside the existing frames. Load paths rerouted, so storm waves spread their anger across the structure instead of punching through one weak point. No new road that eats our cliff, No evictions, just smarter support under what we already have. She talked numbers and materials and costs. I watched the council's faces. At first, they were wary, then curious, then something like relief. When she finished, there was actual applause. The council stepped out to deliberate. They were gone 12 minutes. When they came back, the president did not drag it out. In light of the information presented today, she said, "This council votes to approve the joint proposal submitted by Taylor Coastal Design and Gray Structural." The room exploded. People clapped. Someone whistled. A shop owner shouted, "Yes," like he'd just won the lottery. Coulson stood up so fast his chair tipped. "This is outrageous," he snapped. "You cannot." "We can," the council president said, "and we have. In addition, your firm's conduct is being referred to the state board for review. This meeting is adjourned." She hit the gavel. Just like that, it was over for him, and it was beginning for us. Vera was swarmed. Old fishermen with sunburned faces. A couple who ran the ice cream stand. Teens from the surf shop. They thanked her, hugged her, clapped her on the back. She kept looking over their shoulders like she was checking to see if I had disappeared. I had not moved. I stayed back near the wall, letting them have her. Finally, she broke free and came straight toward me, weaving through people like she had a line on my chest. "You came back," she said, stopping right in front of me. "Like I said," I shrugged, "the equation did not work without me." Her mouth curved. "Is that all this is to you?" she asked quietly. "An equation?" I could have made a joke. I could have leaned on charm and glossed it over. Instead, I let the last of the armor drop. "No," I said, "I want to be here. With you. I like who I am when I am standing on your side of the room." Her eyes softened in a way I had not seen. The noise around us faded to a dull blur. "Say that again," she said. "I want to be with you," I repeated. "If you want that. If you don't, I will still stand on this pier when it goes up, and I will still be proud of you. But I hope you do." She did not answer with words. She reached up, took my face in both hands, and pulled me down into a kiss. Not frantic this time. Slow, sure, public. There were whistles and someone cheered. I did not care. Her mouth was soft and certain. My hands found her waist, fingers settling there, like they had been made for that exact curve. When we pulled apart, she rested her forehead against mine for one small private second in the middle of all that noise. "Shut up, Santiago," she whispered. I smiled. "Yes, ma'am." We walked down to the pier at sunset. The fog had burned off. The sky was a wide wash of gold and pink. The ocean glowed like molten metal. We stopped at the railing where the rotten plank had given way weeks before. New timber had already been installed there, clean and solid. My crews had moved fast. Vera reached into her bag and pulled out a sheet of paper. "I wrote this the night I thought you were going to resign," she said. "It is your release from the joint venture. I was going to sign it. I was going to let you go." She tore the page neatly in half, then in quarters. The pieces fluttered from her hands into the wind and scattered over the water. "No more running," she said. I slid my hand into hers, fingers lacing with hers like they had on the drafting table. "Deal," I said. She turned, leaned back against the railing, and looked up at me. "So?" she said. "Partner." "Partner," I agreed. "And something else," she added. I stepped in closer, boxing her gently between my arms and the rail, careful, always leaving a little space for her to choose. She closed it. Her hand hooked my shirt, tugging me closer by inches. "Stay," she said simply. No promises about forever. No big speeches. Just one small word that felt heavier than a contract. I nodded once. "I am not going anywhere," I said. The waves hit the pilings below. The new bolts held. The old wood hummed with their force, but it did not crack. We stood there, in that last warm light, fingers interlocked, the pier under our feet, the town at our back, and for the first time in a long time, I felt what good engineering is supposed to feel like. Not just strong, right?